In this video, we are going to implement our send message activity. So finally, we're at the point where we are able to type a message in and have it sent. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to start off with the API call. I'm going to go over here to messages in this class. In this class, I'm going to put together a API call for sending a message. So what does a message need? Well, it needs a recipient. It needs a path on your local storage to the image that you took so it can be uploaded, and it also needs your message. So let's go ahead and start that off. I'm going to come down here to the bottom, and I'm going to write a public static class send message request. Now, what's interesting about the send message request is I'm going to have him implement parcelable. So he's going to implement parcelable, and I'm going to go ahead and put my keyboard cursor on the squiggles and hit Alt-Enter for implement methods, and then enter. And we'll write these methods here in a little bit. Maybe we'll move this one above that other one because I'm going to be doing the sort of constructor pattern that I've been doing. And the reason we're doing this is because the send message request is actually going to be persisted to the saved state of the send message activity. Now, why would that be necessary? Well, it's just a convenient place to store the image path and the selected user and all of that fun stuff. Also, unlike the other requests that we've written, the send message request is going to be instantiated and then it's going to kind of be worked on over the course of a period of time while the user types in all the necessary details like who the message is to and the message itself and all that fun stuff. So I'm not going to write it like I did these other requests where we have public fields and then a constructor that requires us to fill in all those fields. Instead, I'm going to write it more just like an entity sort of thing where it has private fields and then it has getters and setters for its values. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to start off with its fields. I'm going to start off with the user details, and I'm going to call this user details, sure, why not? And, well, that's not a very good name. We'll call this recipient. So that'll be recipient, and then we're going to do private URI image path and private string message. Then I'm going to go ahead and write a public constructor, send message request, and it's going to be empty and parameterless. Now, the reason I'm doing that is because I'm going to write another constructor that takes in a parcel in. So just like how we had our other parcelables, we're going to have this parcelable have a private constructor. So why is the public constructor here necessary when it's obvious? It looks like it's not really required because it doesn't do anything, nor does it accept any parameters. The answer to that question is how Java classes work. Now, technically, all Java classes have a parameterless constructor if you do not provide a constructor at all. So if I didn't provide a constructor, there would still be a constructor for this class. It would be empty and parameterless. However, if I introduce any constructor, even a private constructor like this, the Java compiler will no longer create a public parameterless constructor for this class anymore, so then we have to specify it manually. And yeah, it looks like it doesn't do anything, but it's actually very important for this to be here. Otherwise, we wouldn't be able to instantiate this class because my other constructor not only A, requires a parcel, but B is private. So let's go ahead and fill in all of his fields now. I'll say recipient equals in dot read parcelable. Remember, user details is a parcelable. And we'll just say user details dot class dot get class loader. And then I'll say image path equals in read string. And then I'll say message equals in read string. And by read string, I actually meant to say read parcelable because URIs are not strings, they are parcelables. So I'll say URI.class.getClassLoader. For our write to parcel method, pretty straightforward. I'm going to change this parameter because I hate that name to out. And I'll say out. First thing it will do is we'll write a parcelable, in this case our recipient. The second thing we'll do is we'll write another parcelable, and in this case our image path. And we also want to specify these flags, of course, so be sure to specify 0 and 0 for those flags. And then we'll write a string out, and this time it'll be message. Now what I want to do is I want to go ahead and generate my getters and setters for my recipient, image path, and message. And I can do that really, really, really easily by hitting Alt-Insert and selecting getter and setter. And then I'm going to hold down Shift and press the down arrow 2 times so that each one of the fields are highlighted. Then I'm going to go ahead and hit OK. And I now have a complete list of getters and setters for this entire class. So that's really handy. Now, all the way at the bottom, I have to do one last thing, and that's because it's a parcelable. I have to say private or public creator of type send message request, and then it has to be capital creator, so C-R-E-A-T or R equals new creator. And, of course, it's important that you do capital C-R, select this, and then hit enter, because that will make it go and generate all of the method stubs for you. Now, for the create from parcel method, we're simply going to return a new send message request passing in source for its constructor parameter. So we're using our private constructor right here. And then for our new array, we'll simply replace the 0 with the size parameter. And finally, don't forget to terminate this because it is actually an expression here. So make sure to terminate that with a semicolon. Now, it's interesting that this is a field, and it should be public, or sorry, it should be static. Sorry, I was looking at the signature there and I realized I forgot to put the static modifier, so it's public static. But like I said, it was interesting that this is a field, but I'm putting it at the bottom. Typically, I put fields at the top of my classes, and I guess that's interesting because I just don't normally do it. However, in this particular case, I see this as sort of a special ancillary boilerplate, out-of-the-way sort of thing. So I kind of like it to stuff it out down at the bottom so you don't have to... it doesn't have to clutter everything up, because frankly I think that the anonymous inner class syntax is a little bit ugly, especially when applied to fields. Anyway, so that's why I'm doing it in that style. Now, the next class that we have to write, so I'm going to go ahead and exit this curly. And a quick feature, we see a lot of curlies right here, and we want to know which one to get into that top level class. A quick feature of IntelliJ that you may not know about is if I put my keyboard cursor right there at the end of this curly, I can look, if the matching curly is not visible on the screen, you can look all the way at the top there at that tooltip. So there's a tooltip. I can't put my mouse cursor on the tooltip because that'll make it go away, but you see public static class send message request. That's how I know that this curly matches up to the class that I want to exit. So then I'll go ahead and do a public static class send message response, and for him, all he's going to do is return service response, and that's it. Nothing really special about that. So yeah, let's go ahead and do our in-memory service implementation of this. So I'm going to go into in-memory message service, and I'm going to scroll all the way down to the bottom here underneath search messages, and I'm going to add a subscribe public void send message set or messages dot send message request. And for this case, I'm just going to make this really easy. I'm going to say post delayed new messages send message response, and I'm going to make this take a little bit longer than usual so we get a chance to see our progress frame. So maybe 1.5 seconds to 3 seconds for our delay, our random delay there. And I'm not going to worry about doing any validation. You could, if you wanted to test the error handling code, you could throw in some error conditions in here. Like, let's say, well, I guess I could just show you guys how I would do that. I would take this and I would factor it out into a local variable. And I would name it response. And then I would say post-delayed response. By the way, what I just did, there is a refactoring to do that. I just forget the keyboard shortcut. Then I can say something like if request dot get message equals, dot equals, because we're in Java, not C#, dot equals error. Then I'll say response dot set operation error something bad happened, and then I can also say else if request dot get message equals thing or error dash message. I can say response dot set property error message. There was an error or invalid message, just something like that, just to throw a couple error conditions in there. Great for testing. I didn't do this on a lot of these API calls in the interest of time, but I'll go ahead and do it here. Anyway, so that's pretty much all we got to do for our send message request. Now, it's a little bit more of an interesting request than our other requests that we've been doing. And really what I'm showing you guys is that you're not limited to just doing dumb classes like we've been doing, which just have public fields and constructors. You can make classes that implement parcelables and kind of behave slightly differently and maybe do their own calculations if you wanted to. Although I would probably keep that to a minimum in this case. Anyway, I think that's pretty much all we need to do for the first step of this. So in the next video, we will take a look at actually implementing the user interface. So we'll see you guys then.